Sesame Street just took aim at Donald Trump in a jaw-dropping way, and I have to say, this is kind of hilarious. It's also a bit disturbing. Welcome to Occupy Democrats, I'm David Reddish. So in case you decided to tune out over the weekend, and who can blame you if you did, really? The past few weeks have been rough, to say the least. In case you tuned out, you should know that one issue has Donald Trump's presidency and the whole of MAGA world falling apart. No, it's not his obvious violations of the Emoluments Clause and personal corruption. It's not even his disastrous handling of the Texas floods. It all comes down to one name: Jeffrey Epstein.
But there are other social media influencers like Benny Johnson and the like who took to Twitter X over the weekend, really trashing President Trump, which we never see before, accusing him of hiding things, accusing him of not being honest about this list. And Trump's efforts to try to quell this storm, his Truth Social post, nearly 1,000 words over the weekend, did exactly the opposite. I mean, Truth Social, let's remember, this is a Donald Trump created and owned platform. This is the first time I've ever seen him be ratioed, meaning he got more comments, in this case, almost overwhelmingly negative comments, than he got likes and approval, stamps of approval for that post.
Now they're even feeling shockwaves on Sesame Street. Stay with me here. Yes, the mess that Trump thought he was cleaning up by having Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director and Munchkinland native Kash Patel say Epstein took his own life and that there was no client list whatsoever has backfired in a major way. Remember, Trump loves to indulge conspiracy theorists, so finally turning on them has sent shocks through his base. Even Fox News is sounding the alarm.
Lots and lots of questions that have been swirling about Jeffrey Epstein for a long time, for over 10 years, and the government's involvement in it. If there's anybody who could walk in and say, okay, we've resolved all of the questions and there is nothing here, it would be President Trump and his crew. The problem is you can't really do it without giving some explanation, and there has to be some explanation, and I think that's why you have a lot of people still pretty with a lot of very valid questions about it.
You absolutely nailed it.
All of this, by the way, doesn't even begin to address Trump's tanking poll numbers, his response to the floods in Texas, like I mentioned, the trade war, Ukraine, Gaza, Iran, cutting Medicaid. Look, you get the idea. Gaza and Ukraine notwithstanding, these wounds are all self-inflicted also, and it only took him 6 months to butcher himself like this. And even if this Epstein debacle seems like it should be the least among all these issues, at least logically speaking, it is still proving the most destructive to his support. Which brings us back to a sunny day to sweep the clouds away. Right now, Donald Trump is probably asking Susie Wilds how to get to Sesame Street since he thinks it's an actual street in New York. The next thing you know, he's going to nominate Oscar the Grouch to replace Tom Homan as border czar. Well, Oscar would be less racist. And Cookie Monster would make a much better Secretary of Health and Human Services than RFK Jr. But look, I digress. Yesterday, Sesame Street icon Elmo's social media accounts began posting some very strange messages. Some of those were anti-Semitic, some attacked Benjamin Netanyahu, but above all, this is what stood out. Elmo knows Trump is in the Epstein files. Maybe Elmo is just upset about Trump's proposed cuts to public broadcasting, which are what got Sesame Street on the air almost 60 years ago. Maybe Elmo is just angry about the anti-queer positions of the Trump administration. Elmo's just sticking up for his friends Bert and Ernie, who are gay, trust me, I broke that story years ago. Or maybe Elmo is just angry because of how Trump's tariffs could affect his Nvidia stock price. Who wouldn't be? The most likely answer, however, is that Elmo's account got hacked. As if the chaotic tweets weren't enough, one of them named several Australian hackers, and I'm guessing that's probably a calling card of sorts from those responsible. This does happen to celebrities, and it's even happened to Donald Trump in the past. Remember back in 2020 when a Dutch hacker broke into Trump's Twitter account twice because he twice correctly guessed the password? Yeah, he clearly had much better manners than the internet trolls who snuck into Elmo's account yesterday. Now look, there is no excuse for anti-Semitism, and these hackers are foolish to use anti-Semitism to attack Benjamin Netanyahu. No, criticizing Netanyahu's policies or the actions of his government is not anti-Semitic. And to say that is an insult to Jewish people worldwide, not to mention common sense. And Trump may or may not be on the Epstein client list. It's hard to say since we are now being told that this client list doesn't even exist. But Trump is very obviously scared. So scared, in fact, that Michael Wolff now claims he's considering pardoning Epstein's lady friend Ghislaine Maxwell. See our other videos for more on that. And Trump is also facing the resignations of some of his high-level appointees like Dan Bongino over this debacle. The bottom line is this. This story isn't going anywhere. It's not even close to finishing up yet, and it's likely to get even uglier before it gets better. Oh, and Donald Trump, in case you're watching, just so you know, this report was brought to you by the letters F and U. Learn to read a room, man. This is Occupied Democrats.